stage is where legends are made, but sometimes it becomes the one place an artist is no longer welcome. Whether it was politics, controversy, or sheer chaos, some of the biggest names in music were forced to walk away mid-performance. Here are 10 musicians forced off stage. Number 10. Sinead O'Connor. The night everything changed wasn't even a concert. It was October 3, 1992 on Saturday Night Live, where a planned a cappella performance of Bob Marley's War ended with a torn photo of Pope John Paul II and approximately 4,400 complaint calls to NBC. The backlash was instantaneous. Just 13 days later, O'Connor appeared at the Bob Dylan 30th anniversary concert at Madison Square Garden. The audience had already made up its mind. The booing was so loud, it drowned out the house band entirely.
Where is war?
She abandoned her planned Dylan song, defiantly screamed the lyrics to War into the hostile crowd, and walked off stage. Chris Christopherson came on stage during the chaos and whispered to her, "Don't let the bastards get you down." She replied, "I'm not down." Her mainstream American career, built on the #1 hit Nothing Compares to You, never fully recovered.
'Cause nothing compares.
Number 9. The Doors.
Well, I think I need her down to buy an hour ago.
CBS executives had one simple rule before the band's live appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show on September 17, 1967. Change the word higher in Light My Fire, their #1 single that had topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 weeks starting in late July. Jim Morrison agreed backstage, nodded politely to the producers, then sang the original lyric on live national television, staring directly into the camera. Ed Sullivan refused to shake the band's hands afterward. A producer told them they would never appear on the show again. Morrison's response has become rock and roll legend. "We just did the Ed Sullivan Show," he said. Keyboardist Ray Manzarek confirmed the exchange in multiple interviews, calling it one of their proudest moments. The Doors never returned to the program, but Light My Fire kept selling millions. Number 8. Elvis Presley. The biggest entertainer of the 20th century, the man who would sell over 500 million records worldwide, was once told he had no future in music. On October 2, 1954, a 19-year-old Elvis Presley took the stage at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, performing Blue Moon of Kentucky for the country music establishment. His hip-shaking rockabilly style shocked the conservative audience into confused silence. According to popular music lore, talent manager Jim Denny suggested Elvis should consider returning to truck driving, though the exact wording has been debated by historians for decades. Multiple biographies describe Elvis crying in his car afterward. He was never invited back. Within 2 years, he was the most famous performer on the planet, and that single rejection became one of music's greatest cautionary tales about gatekeeping.
And it is my way.
Number 7. The Sex Pistols. 12 studio tracks, 1 album, a career that lasted roughly 2.5 years. The Sex Pistols didn't need longevity to reshape popular music, but their final act was a masterclass in self-destruction. Their January 1978 American tour was a disaster, with southern venues canceling over safety fears and work permit issues. Sid Vicious was deep into heroin addiction. Manager Malcolm McLaren seemed to be engineering chaos deliberately. On January 14, 1978, at San Francisco's Winterland Ballroom, Johnny Rotten finished the final song, leaned into the microphone, and delivered one of rock's most famous exit lines. "Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" He walked off stage. The Sex Pistols were finished. Nevermind the Bollocks had reached #1 in the UK. God Save the Queen had been banned by the BBC. They changed everything, then simply refused to continue. Number 6. Sly and the Family Stone.
I like it here. I like it
In the late 1960s, nobody blended funk, soul, rock, and psychedelia quite like Sly Stone. Everyday People hit #1 in 1969. Thank you for letting me be myself. Aiken followed it to the top of the charts. The album Stan sold millions. But by 1970, cocaine and PCP had consumed Sly Stone completely, and his live performances became notorious for either never starting or falling apart mid-song. He missed 26 of 80 scheduled concerts in 1970 alone. At a Grant Park show in Chicago that July, an impatient crowd that feared a no-show erupted into a full-scale riot before he could take the stage. Jeff Kellis documented the spiral in his biography, I Want to Take You Higher. Venue managers began pulling the plug on his sets when he showed up too impaired to perform. The 1971 masterpiece. There's a Riot Going On captured his paranoia on record. Which of these stories surprised you the most so far? Did you ever catch any of these artists live back in the day? Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from.
Thank you for letting me be myself again.
Number 5. John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Ready now, go, Jack, go, don't step on my blue suede.
We're just going to do numbers. We know Lennon told the Toronto crowd on September 13, 1969. It was the Plastic Ono Band's debut concert at the Rock and Roll Revival Festival, and the former Beatle was so nervous he had vomited backstage. The first half was electric, with raw covers of Blue Suede Shoes and Dizzy Miss Lizzy that reminded fans exactly why Lennon was a giant. Then Yoko Ono stepped to the microphone. What followed was extended avant-garde screaming, wailing, and feedback that tested the patience of the audience. Fans who had paid to see a Beatle booed and whistled. The performance was released on Live Piece in Toronto, 1969, preserving both the brilliant rock and roll and the audience's audible discomfort. Lennon never apologized for the artistic choice.
Let him be, set him free, let him be like you and me.
Number 4. Meat Loaf. Over 43 million copies sold worldwide. That is the legacy of Bat Out of Hell, one of the best-selling albums in history after its 1977 release. But the tours that followed nearly killed the man who sang it. Meat Loaf's theatrical performances required him to sing Jim Steinman's operatic compositions while performing dramatic stage moves at well over 250 pounds. Dehydration and exhaustion became constant companions. During the 1978 tour in Toronto, he fell from the stage and broke his leg, yet finished the remaining dates in a wheelchair. He detailed the toll in his 1999 autobiography To Hell and Back, describing shows where he could barely see straight. Aerosmith and Bruce Springsteen pushed physical limits on stage, but few artists literally broke bones and kept touring. The stage was both his temple and his torture chamber.
Summer night and the beach was red and there was fog crawling over the sand.
Number 3. James Brown.
This is a man's world.
Most artists on this list were forced to leave the stage. James Brown had the opposite problem. Live at the Apollo, recorded in 1962 at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, became one of the most influential live albums ever made and spent 66 weeks on the Billboard album chart. The Godfather of Soul built his reputation on performances so intense that handlers developed a legendary routine to manage them. They would drape a cape over his shoulders and guide him toward the wings. Then he'd throw the cape off and charge back to the microphone. Promoters genuinely could not get James Brown to stop performing. R.J. Smith documented this in his 2012 biography, The One, noting Brown regularly exceeded his contracted set times. The TAMI show in 1964 captured this energy on film, a performance so explosive that Keith Richards later admitted following Brown on stage was the biggest mistake of their career.
So nice, so nice. I got to give.
Number 2. Bob Dylan. Before the night of July 25, 1965, he was the voice of a generation, a folk poet who sang Blowin' in the Wind and the Times They Are A-Changin'. After that night at the Newport Folk Festival, he was a traitor. Dylan walked on stage with a Fender Stratocaster and a backing band, plugged in, and shattered every expectation the folk purist audience held sacred. The booing started almost immediately. Festival organizer Pete Seeger was reportedly so enraged he wanted to cut the power cables with an axe, though he later insisted his frustration was about poor sound quality rather than the electric instruments. Elijah Wald's 2015 book Dylan Goes Electric documented the chaos in forensic detail. Dylan played only 3 electric songs before leaving under a wall of hostility. He returned with an acoustic guitar to perform Mr. Tambourine Man, and then It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, widely interpreted as a deliberate farewell to folk. Popular music was never the same.
Yes, and the silent fade shadow from the sounds inside my mind.
Number 1. The Beatles.
She's in love with me and I feel fine.
At 25, John Lennon stood on the stage at Candlestick Park in San Francisco on August 29, 1966, knowing it was the last time. The Beatles played 11 songs in roughly 30 minutes. Press officer Tony Barrow recorded the show on a portable tape machine at the band's request because they wanted proof this chapter was finished. The screaming was so loud that none of the 4 could hear what they were playing. Death threats had followed them since Lennon's bigger than Jesus comment earlier that year. The joy of performing had been replaced by fear and exhaustion. They walked off stage and never performed a proper public concert together again. George Harrison reportedly said on the flight home, "That's it then. I'm not a Beatle anymore." They retreated to Abbey Road Studios and created Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, proving that leaving the stage was the best decision they ever made.